Hello, everyone. I want to start with this. It's a great pleasure to be back in Bucharest. I hope the lunch was good.
Este o mare plăcere să te întorci în București.
Let's try again. I hope the lunch was good and you're ready to hear about the future.
Sper că prânzul a fost bun și sunteți gata să auziți despre viitor.
How was that? Was it good? Yes? So, instant Babylon. You could say when you use this device, it's called Travis, by the way. I just bought it weeks ago. I use it a lot when I travel. And I noticed the device is very helpful. It's not like a human, right? But it's helpful, right? It's a device that makes me kind of more communicable, right? When I can talk to people about things that may be on their mind, right? Is this device going to replace, this device going to replace a translator? If we had a translator here, would this box replace the translator? Well, the answer is not right now, right? In 10 years, could it replace like a simple translator? Maybe. United Nations? No, right? And our kids are going to say, well, I have this device, I don't have to learn English, right? No. Because it's still not your brain, it's a device, right? It's outside. So this is what technology does. It helps us. And when this device moves here or here, you know, people who have trouble hearing, like a cochlear implant that makes you hear, right? Then it's different. So we're moving into a world that's going to be dramatically different, right? I often say we're going to change more in the next 20 years than the previous 300 years. Right? I mean, think about this for a second. 300 years ago, the Industrial Revolution, of course, the printing press before that, World War II, the atomic bomb, and now we're going to a future where this thing here, right, this is your second brain, right? And for some of our kids, is the first brain. Yeah. This is our second brain. It's like, you know, everything is in here. Now this is going to move here. Right? I know Microsoft is working on that too. Right? And then it's going to move here. Right? And Elon Musk is working on the brain-computer interface. Right? And this world will be so vastly different. I mean, think about this now. The kids of my kids, they will live to be an average of 100 years old. Right? Many of them will live to be 120. Right? The kids of my kids will not know how to drive a car because they can speak to a machine. Right? I mean, the changes we're going to see, I think most of them are positive, but also quite confusing. So when I travel around the world speaking about the future, I get this a lot. I don't know how you feel about this, but a lot of people are saying, oh my God, the future is going to be terrible. Right? I'm afraid of the future. And this is, by the way, why we have populism in Europe, right? People are voting for the past. Right? So, you know, you don't like the future, you vote for the past. But people are worried about two things: climate change, global warming, right? And machines that will take their jobs. So I hear this a lot from people saying, you know, oh, the machine is going to get intelligent and take my job, and after it takes our job, it will kill us. Right? This is the Hollywood story, of course, right? So artificial intelligence is, in the end, you know, a fear factor. But I want to tell you, I think the future is better than we think. I'm an optimist on this because, you know, technology is giving us enormous power. We just have to use it wisely. The problem is not technology. Technology is neutral. Right? William Gibson, science fiction author, once said, technology is morally neutral until we use it. That's so true. So we use technology, and I think, you know, we have technology to solve climate change. We have that. We just have to pay for it, right? Diseases, right? Energy, water, food. Yeah, technology will not solve social problems. Yeah. If we want good media, Technology will not solve the problem. It will make it better or worse, right? I mean, we have to think about what we want for that to be actually fixed. But look at this graph. Consider yourself lucky because you're living in the time of the biggest change in human history as far as technology is concerned. It is pretty safe to say science fiction is becoming science fact. Right? And it's interesting because Romania is a place where lots and lots of scientists have come from in the past, and researchers, right? Especially on these topics, robotics and also AI. Right? And now we're moving towards a world that's exploding with change. Right? I mean, if you have kids, you got to think about that. Yeah? What are our kids going to do in the future where machines are truly powerful without limits? Quantum computing, right? You know what quantum computing is? 3D computing. I mean, again, this thing here has the computing power of the machine that brought the Americans to the moon. Right? This thing right here, NASA, right? 1963 or whatever that was. Now, in 10 years, 1 million X. Right? Mind-boggling futures. I'll give you some examples of what's already happening in this future. I mean, I used to be in the music business, you know. I sold records. I made 20 records as a musician. I sold the little round plastic things. Remember those? No? Yeah? Good, good. So today, if you buy a CD or a DVD and you give your kids to Christmas a present of a CD or DVD, they will call a therapist, right? Because there's something wrong with your head. Right? Now, you're looking at the future like this. Our future is going to be so remarkably different and powerful. So car companies are switching to mobility. Right? Media companies are no longer on cable, they're in the cloud. Right? Banking is going to be done through blockchain. Right? It's going to be done through mobile. I mean, we're talking about huge opportunities, especially for a country like Romania, right? Because you can make leaps. Right? I mean, for saturated countries like Germany, this is even more difficult. Imagine in Germany you work for a car company. Right? I'll talk about it a little more later on this topic, but it's a huge shift that is quite brutal in many ways, and this is really what we have to realize, and it's a tough realization. The future is not an extension of the present. I mean, how can you expect the future to be the same if everything is changing, right? Our genome is changing, our technology is changing, our language is changing, our globalization is changing, our energy is changing. And so everything that we do will not be like the present. You know what this means? That means if you are successful in the present, yeah, you have a 5-year time frame to find the next window. Right? I mean, it's complete renovation of all these things. And there's one thing we have to get used to. You know, technology isn't about this. Right? Technology is not just about efficiency. I mean, I talk to so many people about what's called digital transformation. This is a really funny word. It's become a little bit meaningless, like social media. You know, of course, social media is really a social media, right? It's exactly the opposite. It's like, okay, hard to understand with words, but now we have here this effect of people saying, we use technology, we become faster and cheaper and better. Well, that's not enough. Yeah? Technology enables us to become different. Yeah? Going back to the music business, what is different about the music business? Well, in the music business, you don't sell music. Music is free. Right? Basically, if you guys have Spotify, you have Spotify here, right? And other services. What are roughly 10 euros for 21 million songs? My songs are on Spotify, and they're basically free. So what is the business of music? Playlists, concerts, gigs, data mining, sponsorship. Right? Reinvent. consider yourself lucky you get to grow up in this world, right? It's not about just technology efficiency. It's about taking a wider view, right? So from the record to the cloud, from selling a car to selling mobility, from the bank to selling financial services. 3 days ago, big surprise, Tesla announced it's building a big car plant near Berlin, in Brandenburg, to produce electric cars, Tesla cars, of course, near Berlin. I think they have this in the US, and they have it in China now. Now it's Germany, right? Why is this surprising? Right? This is the first time somebody comes to Germany and says, I'm going to teach you how to make cars. Right? What a crazy idea. Right? And Elon is received as like God, right? It's like all the engineering at Mercedes-Benz and Audi is, somewhere down here now. Right? And this is what happens when you don't pay attention to the future. 7 years ago, we did a seminar for one of the leading German car companies, and we said the future of the car is to share a car, right? To have an electric car, to have autonomous cars, right? And they were laughing about this. This is where you have to think about the future. Imagine what that means. If you make parts for a car, this is Romania, you make a lot of car parts, right? Clutches, transmissions. In 10 years, nobody will be making a gas engine. A gas engine has 2,000 moving parts. What does an electric engine have? Software. 20 moving parts. You have to think a little bit ahead of there, right? This is quite clear. I call this the game changers. There's 9 game changers, and I'm sure you realize this. We're going to distribute the slides later because it's quite a bit of information here. But the game changers are everywhere now. So I'll give you a list. Basically, everything is about data. Everything is about cloud, the Internet of Things, smart computing, the blockchain, 3D printing, virtual reality, and genome analytics. Every single business will be changed upside down by those 9 game changers. And here's the biggest news. It's all going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years, apart from maybe genetic engineering, which will take a little bit longer. Many companies are inventing, right, the quantum computer. The quantum computer is a machine that does not have to think, parenthesis, zeros and ones, but it can think in between. Simultaneous states of binary numbers. It can do this is what we're doing, right? This is what humans are doing. We can think simultaneously yes or no. Computers can't do that now. So this is huge, right? Huge game changes the way we're coming, and this is the end result, things like 3D printing. Yeah? Anybody here from the construction business or architecture or, we're going to build houses in 3D printing. This is a Chinese company called Wei-Sun. And when I was in China, I looked at this and I'm like, it took 4 days to print this house, and it's a nice looking house, right? Not ugly. Right? And they print the inside too. Right? And the next thing they're going to do is print the people. No, just kidding. Yeah. But this is all printed stuff, right? And so if you are in this business of making houses, in the very near future, you're going to print the walls, you're going to print the cupboards, you're going to do all these things, but you will still need carpenters, right? Because they just do the manual, the rough work, right? They're not going to build a nice little cabinet, or they're not electricians. Robots make very bad electricians. But they do this. So a big change coming up there. When we go down this road to transformation, the movie isn't speeding up, but in reality, we're speeding up exponentially, right? 4, 8, 16, 32. 10 years from now, that's not just 1 to 10. It's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, right? It's like this. If you go exponential from here, 30 steps, I get to the door back there. If I go exponentially, I get to the moon. This is the changes that we're going to see. So, business as usual is dead or dying. If you still do business as usual, you're just very lucky. It hasn't hit you yet, like government. Right? We have e-government, but that's business as usual to many degrees, right? Construction, mining, gas and oil, right? But just like the music business, the media business, the publishing business, right, the advertising business, the search engine business, it's all no longer as we know. Right? So there's a few things that we need to do here. This is the very first one. This is actually my job. Right? Just pay attention. Right? Observe. It's like, okay, you can, if you have kids and your kids come home after school in the evening, you can sit down with your kids and the kids will tell you about how they missed the bus or what the grades were or whatever, right? That's called information. Data. Right? But understanding means you look at your kids and you realize that your youngest son has fallen in love. Right? But he hasn't provided the information, but you understand. Right? This is something that we need to do, understanding the future, right? Observing. I can't tell you how many of my clients around the world, this is their primary problem, they stop paying attention. Right? I mean, humans are really quite ingenious because when we pay attention, we actually do something. Right? We react. Right? So, understanding, imagination, this is the number one skill for our kids in the future, imagination. That's what we need the schools to teach our kids. Because 50% of all jobs will be not jobs like we have today, they'll be occupations, the gig economy. 70% of new jobs are not invented yet. Imagine this. I mean, if you're not 65 or 70 and still working, you're going to have to reinvent what you do. I mean, it's a mind-boggling number. This creativity, we need imagination. Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And what do our kids learn at school? Right? Download the knowledge. Right? Do we really need this? Right? I mean, what we need for them is to manufacture the knowledge and to find it when they need it. Right? Like most of us already do in so many ways. Right? And finally, of course, create. Right? So that brings me to an important topic. In my latest book, Technology versus Humanity, I talk about the megashifts, and you can download this chapter for free. It's megashifts.digital, easy to remember, in 10 languages. Unfortunately, not Romanian, but pretty much everything else. So you can download this, and basically what is happening, people talk to me about transformation, I point them here and I say, look at this map, right? Everything on this map is moving. Because it's not just about digitization, it's about things like cognification. Systems are becoming smart. They're not thinking like we are, but they understand, they're learning, right? Deep learning, machine learning. I mean, computers are no longer stupid. Well, some of them still are, but, there's hope that they will actually learn. Right? And on top of the cognification, we have virtualization, like digital twins in manufacturing, augmented reality. Right? And these trends are all coming together, all of them. Meanwhile, I have collected like a dozen of these. Right? They're all coming together, changing our world. If you understand this, you always have a job. Right? You'll always prosper because these things are happening all over the map and creating an entirely new future for us. So again, give you a short example of what is already happening there. This is a great example. You can see the rest on YouTube, but this is a great example. Like the person that used to walk around a store at night and scan the shelves no longer has a task. Right? But this robot only does one thing. Right? The person in the store can say, well, I'm going to pay attention to thieves, or I'm going to have some new ideas about where to put the product. The machine doesn't do that. Right? The machine doesn't replace the person, it replaces a task. If that's all you do, then your job is gone, right? Obviously, but it's not quite that simple. So this is really what's happening. This is really important that we understand this. Humanity and technology are kind of converging. I mean, in technical terms, the mobile phone is just the start, and then the brain-computer interface. And basically, in 2030, we're going to have roughly 9 billion people on the internet. Right? and at 5G or whatever, 10G, right? I mean, we see that everywhere. And we're going to have to decide, how far do we go? Right? Today we say, okay, this box here is 2 days of this and the battery is dead, right? Well, in 10 years, it's 60 days. Right? And unlimited computer, probably more than that. Yes, probably unlimited with one charge. Right? We have to decide, how far do we go? Which direction are we going? Because this is really what's happening. We started years ago with the steam engine and the car and the airplane. We were augmenting our muscles. You know, we could go further. We can do other things, and all of a sudden now we're actually augmenting our thinking. Okay? This is a whole different cup of tea. Okay? So when I take the train or fly, I can move quicker, but I'm still the same person. Okay? A machine that helps to think is going to change our world. A machine that is truly intelligent. Okay? So I'll give you an example here, what's happening already. I showed you earlier the voice translation, but we see here on the left, image processing is almost at 100%. You know? So the doctor can realize a melanoma, skin problem, skin cancer, using a machine. The machine has seen 300 million examples. It will have an opinion on my skin. Voice, yeah, okay. We were discussing at lunch earlier. Yeah, see down here, right? 5 years, perfect. 5 years, you can speak 60 languages in real time. As long as you speak with a little bit of discipline. No Swiss German, no Finnish, no funny things like that. But so this is the future. We're here at the takeoff point. Right? Again, consider yourself lucky, because if you're here, this is where I was when I started my first internet company. Right? We're just not moving. Right? But now, is this moving to this, moving up here, and in 10 years, it's here. Right? And this is why we can't afford to sit back. Let's wait and see. Right? Wait and see means wait to die. Right? It's a certainty. This is why we have to think about also what we want from the future and which way it's going to go. Another example of a great accomplishment in that regard.
Imagine being able to snap your fingers and become fluent in 20 languages.
How did last night's assignment go?
كيف ذهبت مهمة الليالي الماضية؟
كان جيدا. كان هناك مشكلة واحد لا نستطيع الحصول عليه.
It was all right, but there was one problem I didn't get.
Can I take...
Well, this is the graduation from what I showed you earlier, right? It's an app called Waverly Labs Ambassador. And many companies have projects in this. I just put on this earpiece, and I can transmit and send in different languages. Right? I can finally have a relationship with a person that I can't speak to, because I can use this app. Right? So, when it's about artificial intelligence, we're really talking about this. Right? Forget everything you know from Hollywood. Do not watch those movies when you're really thinking about your future. Right? This is entertainment. It's primarily about, fear and all those things that Hollywood is good at. Right? Really, what we're doing today is called intelligent assistance, IA. Everything you know about artificial intelligence is not intelligent. Tesla's machine is as dumb as a toaster, right? Outside of driving. It can drive. Right? It cannot play chess. It can't operate. It can't translate. Right? It does one thing. So this is really, that's our future, intelligent assistance. Here's some examples, right? Business solutions in banking, personalized advice, customer ID, billing management, credit scoring. Right? What do you call that kind of work? There's a good name for that. Donkey work. Right? Some people say monkey work, but I wouldn't be that disparaging. But it's commodity work, right? We all do this kind of work. Right? We check things, we do things. Machines can learn that. Does that mean we'll be out of a job? It means we can do other things. Right? If we have the skills, of course. Same goes for healthcare, right? Robotic surgery, will that put the doctor out of work? Not. Virtual nursing assistants, workflow, fraud detection. So I think right here, right now, this is the place to invest. Automating things that are routine work, not human work. We'll show you what a machine can do best, right? This is a great machine I found the other day. I'll show the example. Would you want to play bowling against a machine like this? Right? But what is the purpose of such a machine? Right? I mean, it's a manual learning process, and then optimization by throwing it 50,000 times. Right? That's what machines do today, and this is why my colleague Luciano Floridi says algorithms outperform humans when it is not about the human things. Right? Language understanding, intention, interpretation, semantic consciousness. Right? Do not worry about your future job if you have skills here. Right? If your skill is like this robot, you are in deep trouble. Right? Working like a robot, learning like a robot, no future. This is why our kids shouldn't learn anything like this, like bookkeeping, accounting, invoicing, auditing on the lowest level. Right? The creative part, right? Can accounting be creative? Yes, I suppose. Right? But here's the real thing. Machines don't do relationships. They have no idea. They can recognize your face and say, Gerd is tired or angry. They can do that, right? But they have no idea what tired or angry is because they don't exist. Machines are great at simulation, but fail at reality. And this is why we can use them so well, using machines that understand things, right? I mean, these kind of things, passion, I mean, this is why you're in business, right? Because you are human, you're not a machine, I hope. Right? And this is why we need ancient things like privacy, mystery. We need those because this is what they make. Would I want a machine that has purpose or passion? No. I don't think we should invent one that has purpose. Right? Could end very badly for us. So here's the news about work. Basically, anything that can be digitized, automated, virtualized, robotized, cognified, whatever, right, will be. This is the law of digital Darwinism. In the music industry, we used to say anything that can be digitized and go in the cloud will. And it has. Books, films, television, everything. Money. So what is the result of this for us? Machines will do the routine work. World Economic Forum stats. Economist says anything that's non-routine work, including carpenters, electricians, dancers, priests, and so on, right? Therapists, they'll have a good future because it's not routine. Right? Some cooking is routine, yeah, maybe. So this is a really important curve. Right? Again, if you have kids, this is what they have to learn, non-routine work. Right? So the hard skills are done by machines in the future. The soft skills are with us. Very hard for a machine to do a soft skill. I could have to be alive to actually have, define a soft skill. Right? So how do you feel about this? Right? I mean, a lot of people are coming to me and saying, oh my God, especially in Eastern Europe, right? Saying, we have so much catching up to do, and now the machines are coming. Right? Are we going to be useless? Right? Well, the answer is, if you do only routine, if you work like a robot, you learn like a robot, you live like a robot, you are a robot, you have no future. Right? And it's hard to realize that. For example, when you work in a call center, it's a pretty dark view, 90% of work in call centers can be done by machine. Yeah. But generally speaking, I would push this over there and say, okay, really what's happening here, anything that cannot be digitized becomes really valuable. That's why we're here, right? This is why you're not watching at home through a hologram. Right? This is why we're here together talking to each other. Right? Because this is what makes human. Right? And this is also what every single business has to focus on in the future, right? Creating human value. And you can see the discussion in the technology industry. It's all about relationships. It's about understanding what people want. It's about using this unique intelligence that we have as humans. Right? Humans are not just calculating machines. Right? You didn't marry your husband or your wife because of efficiency. Yeah, you may get divorced because of inefficiency. That's different, right? But here, we have intellectual intelligence, we have emotional intelligence. Women, by the way, are said to have a huge amount more of emotional intelligence. And this is why women are better suited for the future. Right? That's proof we can also do that as men, but this is quite a challenge for us, I think, to develop this brain. If we look at this chart about jobs, it's totally clear. Right? Down here, financial insurance, public administration, transportation, right? Declining jobs because of AI. Because many of those jobs are routine. Right? Increase of jobs, healthcare, scientific, communications. Right? So what would you say is the end result? A huge change in how we work. Right? Is it going to be all bad? Are we going to be out of work? No. We're going to have to shift and also upskill and understand ourselves. Our ultimate job is to be human. And this is quite different than 10 years ago when the machines were still pretty stupid. Our job was to beat the machines, to work faster. In 10 years, game over, right? Do not compete with machines on the routine jobs, right? Because they'll be fully capable. That brings me to my next chapter. This kind of conclusion between humans and machines has to do with what has been called digital ethics, right? The ethics of technology. Great example is Facebook, right? It does many good things for us. But on this scenario, Facebook is clearly also very good and very evil. Right? And we don't know how to judge it. Right? I left Facebook because I find Facebook unethical. Right? You guys are probably still on Facebook. Many businesses cannot live without Facebook, right? What are you going to do? Right? So this is a very, very big question. Right? Ethics is defined as the difference between what you have a right or the power to do and what is the right thing to do. I'm very happy to notice how Microsoft is trying to do the right thing. Right? This is why I like working with Microsoft, because I realize that there's an intent of doing the right thing. Right? It's not easy. Right? I can't really say that for other tech companies, especially not the one I just mentioned. Right? So here's a short quote about this whole issue of doing the right thing.
How do we build software that's secure by design, right? We had to really do a lot of re-engineering of our processes, teaching of our own engineers on what does it mean to do threat modeling in software so that we build more robust software. Same thing with AI. We have to have design principles.
Any business, any person who's going to use AI to make any decision of consequence, your child's education, you are going to want to know and have transparency and explainability and trust in this technology. I will tell you there'll be no adoption of AI without that.
And those of us who believe in technology's potential for good must not shrink from this moment. Now more than ever, as leaders of governments, as decision makers in business, and as citizens, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question. What kind of world do we want to live in?
Tim said something very interesting at the very same session. He said, technology can do great things, but it does not want to do great things. It doesn't want anything. If we want to do great things, it's up to us to do them. We can use technology to make great harm and great solutions. And this is really, I think, our ultimate mission. This is why we need to think about what are called digital ethics. Right? And I think every country needs to have what I call a digital ethics council. People who think about the consequences of using technology, of addiction. I mean, imagine how many people are addicted to this, right? We have more relationships with the screen than we have with people. That's one thing. Now imagine if this is going to be virtual reality, right? Then I'm going to be totally addicted, right? It's like worse than any crack. Right? And then I have to think about, where does it go? I really think, this is our future. We're going to move into the cloud, right? Cloud banking, cloud insurance, and cloud media, of course, that's already here. Cloud transportation. So who can we trust? Right? This is the question we have to ask. And I think the more we connect in this cloud, the more we must protect this. Right? And that is a tiny thing like privacy. Right? Do you have the right to be private? Do you have mysteries? Do you have surprises? Right? Is it okay to be inefficient, right? As a human? the right to be inefficient. I always say if you don't have anything to hide, you're probably not human. Okay? I think this is an important thing that we need to also ask the technology companies that we work with. Are you going to protect what makes us human? Right? Which way are we going with this? Because, you know, the robots are coming, right? They're coming everywhere, not just as robots, but they're coming also in software, in the sky, in our mobile phone. Right? Well, we should not be afraid of this, but we do have to ask the robot for some justice, right? Right? We have to pay back into the system. Bill Gates himself has said we need a robot tax. Right? I'll leave that for your politicians to discuss, or the basic income, right? That's been discussed in so many places. So the bottom line is, we need a new economic logic. And that is coming. Consider yourself lucky that you live in this world where we're going to have a new logic that is not primarily based on the fears that we have around us. I have to skip this one because otherwise I will not get to the key points. So the 4 points on the economic logic: people, planet, purpose, prosperity. This is the new economic paradigm of the future. You saw the Business Roundtable in the US 4 weeks ago. The CEOs of most major US companies have said it is no longer about stockholder value, it's about stakeholder value. Employees, vendors, people, planet, profit. And climate change has really brought this discussion forward. Right? I call this sustainable capitalism. Not socialism, just in case you're wondering. So this is a really interesting debate I think that we're going to see more of in the future. So I think we're going to redefine what it means to be a great country or a great company or a great person, for that matter. It's not just all going to be about this, right? People are like, okay, exponential growth, exponential money, exponential whatever, right? Well, humans are not exponential. We're linear. Right? We're organic. And we don't live like a computer. So the paradigm I'm using here are called the future principles. Holistic business models, fair to everyone. Sustainable models, the circular economy. I can guarantee you, you find the job in the circular economy, sustainable, green energy, there's 100 million new jobs here. Right? 100 million. I mean, there's huge potential in this entire slice here, and the human-centric business model. I can guarantee you, if you're not human-centric in what you do, you'll eventually lose. Because technology is a commodity, right? It seems so important today, and it is important, right? But it is something that we can switch on, right? It's not something that we can be. So this is our future. Right? Taking a picture from the past. Right? Awesome humans on top of amazing technology. Make no mistake, if you don't use technology to be amazing, right, magic, you have no chance. Right? But you can use technology to great effect, but you have nothing else to say, that will fail as well. So that's the combination of the two things that we need for the future. I want to thank you very much for listening, and please consider my new book, Technology versus Humanity. Thanks very much.